Part 1. Porcelain Fracture. The chipped porcelain jester, left on the garage door handle like a mocking welcome, promised a vacation less of respite and more of unraveling. Each bang from within its shadowed depths echoing the slow fracture of our family's certainty. It wasn't a spiderweb crack, more like a whisper of breakage in a favorite mug, almost invisible until the hot tea of reality poured into it, revealing the weakness beneath the glaze. Arthur ran a hand over the jester's painted grin, feeling the cool smoothness of the porcelain, strangely unsettling against the humid Michigan air. It felt placed, not dropped, as if a small, silent audience was anticipating their arrival. A black ant traced the curve of its painted collar. Eleanor, orchestrating the unloading of the SUV with surgical neatness, barely glanced at it. Brenda must have left it as a little welcome gift, she said, her voice crisp. Charming, in a slightly creepy way. Always pragmatic, Eleanor dissected anxieties with the same skill she dissected legal briefs. He envied it sometimes, her ability to build walls around discomfort while he tended to wander inside them. A scholar lost in his own labyrinth. Leo, 15 and permanently tethered to his VR headset even in transit, grunted an acknowledgement without lifting his gaze from the swirling digital landscape before him. His world was less about chipped porcelain and more about perfectly rendered polygons. A realm where choice was absolute and consequences easily reset. Clara, 10 and perpetually observant, paused beside Arthur, her brow furrowed. "It looks sad," she murmured, tracing the jester's downturned mouth, like it knows something bad is going to happen. Grandma Vivian snorted from the porch swing Brenda had provided. Children always see ghosts where there are just dust bunnies and bad plumbing. But even Vivian's cynicism felt thinner here. The lakeside retreat was isolated, a sturdy but unassuming cabin nestled between dense woods and the vast gray expanse of Lake Michigan. It smelled faintly of wood smoke and something older, damp leaves decaying for decades, like a forgotten breath held too long. The bangs continued as they unpacked, not violent crashes, but muffled thuds and groans, as if the garage itself were settling into a long-held sigh. Arthur dismissed them initially. Old houses breathed differently, but they resonated with a deeper unease that had been building for months. Tenure review loomed at the university. Eleanor was quietly questioning her partner's status at the law firm. Leo was drifting further into his virtual cocoon. Clara seemed increasingly haunted by an undefined sadness. They had come seeking reconnection, a return to simplicity, but already it felt like they were polishing silverware on a listing deck. "We choose our boxes," Arthur mused aloud while wrestling with a particularly stubborn suitcase, "then wonder why they feel confining." Eleanor shot him a weary look. "You and your philosophical musings," she said dryly. "Just get the luggage inside." He tasted ash on his tongue, the residue of unasked questions. Dinner was quiet. Fried chicken Brenda had left in the fridge tasted faintly of nostalgia. His mother used to make it every Sunday, but even that comfort felt muted, overlaid with a film of expectation. Clara discovered her first jester card tucked under her plate. A delicate painting of a jester pointing backwards with an exaggerated flourish. A tiny smudge of charcoal stained one corner of the card, as if drawn by hurried fingers. "What does it mean?" she asked, holding it up for inspection. Arthur studied it thoughtfully. "Perhaps it means we should look back," he offered tentatively. "Consider choices made." He didn't add or not made. He didn't want to sound too ominous, though he suspected ominous was already woven into the fabric of their arrival. Later that evening, while Eleanor scrolled through emails on the porch and Leo battled digital dragons in his room, Arthur sat by the lake watching the last sliver of sun bleed into the water. The surface was smooth as glass reflecting back his own uncertain face, an abstract painting of worry and expectation. A lone heron stalked along the shore, its long legs casting slender shadows. The wind whispered through the pines like secrets exchanged between old friends, and he thought about choice. How each seemingly small decision creates ripples that spread outward, influencing everything else. How we construct narratives around those choices to make sense of chaos. How easily those narratives could unravel. He looked back toward the cabin, toward that dark maw that was their garage. The bangs had slowed, but hadn't stopped entirely. They now sounded less like settling, and more like someone testing something, testing how much weight it could bear. A wave of cold washed over him, and despite warm air, like static electricity just before storm. The chipped porcelain gesture mocked him from afar, its painted grin widening in darkness. This wasn't going to be a simple vacation. This would be excavation of themselves, of their history, of something lurking within these shadowed depths, waiting to be unearthed. And he wondered if Brenda had known all along. If this retreat wasn't about reconnection at all, but about facing what they'd been avoiding for years. He noticed then, pressed into the damp earth near the garage door, almost obscured by fallen pine needles, was a single playing card, the Queen of Spades, face down.